The Wildcats seem to be hitting their stride at the perfect time, and I promise you, Big Blue fans are sitting at home right now thinking, UK making a run at the end of the season? That's an important conversation, and I'm glad we're having it. This time it's Murray Becker, the steal, and the layup. Murray had 32 tonight. Evansville's favorite son, Don Mattingly, begins his 5th season with the Marlins. Now, it's been a struggle in Miami for Donnie baseball, so much so many times we've been forced to say that concludes our Marlins coverage for the season before June. Now, the Marlins lost 105 games last year. That's not good. Indiana on the road at Minnesota first half. Here's Trace Jackson Davis. He says, welcome to the Music Dome. Big slam right there. That would tie the game at 6. Later in the half, Malik Williams, rim, collision course. He had 14, and the Cardinals break a 2-game losing streak. They win it 90-66 is the final.
Live from ESPN Studios in South Beach. It's the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Should Ray Allen have his number retired by the Celtics? Because Danny Ainge is out here saying, and it's such a strange thing, that those one championship Celtics of Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Rondo, and Ray Allen, that they were so petty and don't get along so much that Danny Ainge is now saying, quote, Ray Allen's move to Miami will have some impact on his decision to retire his number, or on the decision to retire his number. And Ainge also says it's not my decision, so if someone asks my opinion on this, I'll weigh in at the appropriate time, but this is the owner's team, and he gets to make those decisions. What happened, Chris?
He just put it on the owner. He's like, I'd probably let him do it, but that's that guy.
I'm not sure he's saying I'd probably do it. I think he's saying I've got my opinion on this, and I will share it at the appropriate time.
I feel like he also just kind of shared his opinion. I think I know where Danny Ainge stands on the matter.
He is absolutely giving that off to the owner. Danny Ainge does not want Ray Allen's number retired, but he is letting the owner decide, and he already knows what the owner is going to decide, and that is Ray Allen's number is not going to be retired.
He said this on 98.5, the Sports Hub, and he also said that while he himself no longer holds any grudges against Ray Allen, that's not the exact same feeling of everybody in the organization.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Danny Ainge already just told you by volunteering that they're kind of torn on it. I feel like he just told you, yeah, we're not retiring that number. And it's basically because guys don't like him, and it's basically because he left because guys don't like him.
But they like Rondo.
It is odd, but they do seem to have sided with Rondo.
What's odd is that a team that was, an NBA champion, but we talk about them as if they're one of the greatest dynasties.
One championship.
They seem to think that they're this all-time team when they won one title. Are we going to be talking about the Raptors this way? Why do we keep giving them attention? They were a disappointment. There, I said it.
If not for Ray Allen, your Miami Heat would be the same thing.
Yeah, but Ray Allen made the right decision and came here because Rajon Rondo was a jerk to him.
Yeah. Pat Riley, not only should there be a statue of the Ray Allen shot, he should retire Ray Allen's jersey, his Heat jersey, and his Celtics jersey. How about that? That's something Pat would do.
What do you mean?
Why not?
They won't retire your Celtics jersey? Yeah. I will. First-class organization.
I don't understand. How does Stugotz think jersey retirements work?
It's willy-nilly with Riley.
Yeah, he
retired a Bulls jersey.
He's already sent out his team spokesman to publicly say on Heat letterhead, tell Danny Ainge to go bleep himself. Maybe he will just call Danny Ainge and said, you won't retire the number? I'm going to retire the Celtics number.
They should raise the banner of just a photocopy of the memo on team letterhead of just Danny Ainge bleep
Put
off.
that on the poll, Guillermo. Should Pat Riley's bleep you to Danny Ainge on team letterhead hang from the rafters? I want to get to some sports stuff, but I also want to ask you guys this question. Now, Billy has been obsessed with this Astros controversy since the beginning, and he has found it delicious and delightful, and he wants to talk about it every day. And I do feel like this is something, and I don't know what the right amount is or wrong amount is to talk about this. I know that anytime we talk about anything for more than 8 minutes, the short attention spans in our audience get mad because they need shiny silver objects. But the question I want to ask you about this is when Giancarlo Stanton is saying things like, I'd hit 80 home runs if you told me what was coming. And when these baseball players are talking in a way that Tim Kirkshin says in 40 years covering the sport, he's never seen players talk the way that they're talking. When is the time to let go of this subject when daily we're getting news from a sport where they don't talk like this? Baseball players are so careful about not saying anything like this, and now all of them are doing it. And I'm with Stugotz on this when he wonders aloud. Like, think about this, because this is absolutely what's happening here. The Astros are not getting punished for cheating. That's allowed throughout baseball. It's winked at throughout baseball. Andy Pettitte lost a World Series game, and the Yankees lost a World Series to the Arizona Cardinals because he gave a bunch of runs up in the first couple of innings because he was tipping his pitches.
Yep.
The problem the Astros had is they cheated too well. Now, obviously, they got caught, but they cheated too well. The fact that technology allows in 2020 for the evolution of the game to be, instead of LASIK surgery to improve your eyesight, to perfect cheating, to perfect the stealing of signals, even if it's with a garbage can, their greatest crime is that they perfected the evolution of cheating. Is it the same franchise that once gave you Astros pitcher Joe Niekro being so terrible at cheating that when the umpire came to see him on the mound, he threw the nail file, the sandpaper nail file that was in his pocket 15 feet away from the umpire?
It's amazing that you could be so high-tech and low-tech at the same exact time. We use all this technology to do what? Bang on a trash can.
It's amazing.
It's weird.
It's wonderful.
But they were better at cheating than everyone else. I mean, that's it. They were just better at cheating. Everyone's trying to do it, and they took it to the next level, and they're being criticized for taking it to the next level.
You guys don't see a difference between a pitcher accidentally tipping his pitches because of his glove placement and setting up cameras and all of that?
No, of course there's a difference, but I'm saying the difference is how much better they were at it, because it's hard to perfect figuring out what the other guys are going to throw. What they're looking for in the advantage in the tipping of pitches is, can we figure this out? And very often we can't. And in the survival of the fittest ecosystem, that guy adjusts to whatever it is that we're doing. So even if he was tipping his pitches, eventually somebody tells him. They went an entire season with us not knowing that they were using the height of technology and a garbage can to cheat better than anyone ever has in that sport.
But it's not that hard when you have spreadsheets and a whole team of people breaking things down in a video room and telling you what's coming.
Let me ask you this question. Do you believe that the other teams in baseball would have made a moral decision to not do that, or do you believe that they just didn't think of it?
I think it's impossible for me to decide that someone would be guilty given the opportunity.
But what do you think, though? I'm just saying that given what you know about that environment, given that they're competitionaholics, if I'd given the idea to somebody, if I'd come into the Yankees and said, hey, look, and not told them it's against the rules or anything else, if I just come to the Yankees and said, hey, we've got the technology to steal the pitches, you want it or not? You think a lot of teams are taking the moral stand there?
I think other teams didn't do it, and that's all that I can go on. Like, you can put yourself in any position of anyone who's committed a crime ever and said, well, someone else would commit the same crime, but the person didn't commit the crime, so I can't castigate them as if they did.
But, Billy, hold on a second. Garrett Cole comes from the Astros to the Yankees, strolls into the clubhouse and says, guys, there is a great way, and Mike Fiers has never said a word. And he says, guys, this is how we did it in Houston. Do you think the Yankees would be interested?
I think teams made a moral stand, because it's not like this was a well-kept secret. By the time these playoffs rolled around, they were getting questions. As convincing as Carlos Correa was with the media, he was as convincing because he was being asked about these questions during the playoffs last year. And they even changed their game. They went to whistling, which is why Washington Nationals players told you that they heard whistling from the Astros dugout. I think there were all these questions out there, and teams knew that this was going on, and they just made the moral stand. And I'm also paying attention to the teams that aren't passionately going at the Houston Astros right now. Who are the quiet teams? Because that's a red flag at this point.
This is what I would say to you on that, because this is a popular line of thinking in that regard is, well, if any other team did it, would they do it? The steroid era, there were players that didn't take steroids, you know? So, like, everyone had the opportunity to do it. Other players didn't take steroids. So you can't just assume because you're given the opportunity to break the rules that you necessarily would.
I know, but what ended up happening in baseball is Barry Bonds wasn't taking steroids until guys were all over the place were taking steroids, and then all of a sudden he was taking steroids. And Gary Sheffield wasn't in any reports, but all of a sudden, because Barry Bonds is doing it, you're hearing about HGH. Like, that's how it spread. That's the way that it happened, where guys were having enormous. If this had stayed quiet 3 years from now, everybody would have been doing this. Like if the Astros kept having success, and I'm assuming there are more teams, right? Boston.
Yeah, we're waiting on that Boston Red Sox report.
I mean, the Mets were a month away from doing it.
That's right. They were. And I want to ask you guys this though: can you guys actually look up for me the teams that haven't had a single player say a controversial thing? Can we actually get the names? Can we smoke out? Can we do the rest of this Manfred investigation for him by simply saying, look, here are all the teams that don't have a single player who's saying anything publicly bad about the Astros?
When has Chris Sale ever been at a loss for words?
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. Here's your SportsCenter update. Good news, Ryan Newman has been released from Halifax Medical Center in Daytona Beach 2 days after his crash on the final lap of the Daytona 500. Former Browns offensive lineman Greg Robinson was arrested by federal agents after they said they found 157 pounds of marijuana in a rental car. Damn. Former Colts player Jaquan Bray was also arrested. Both could face 20 years in prison. SportsCenter brought to you by Bolt 24. It's advanced hydration for athletes off the field with antioxidant vitamins A and C, electrolytes from watermelon and sea salt, and no artificial flavors or sweeteners. Bolt 24, all-day hydration for all-day athletes. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
More than Stu from the Clevelander on ESPN Radio.
Should be the Vins, not the Oscars. Every year we give Meryl Streep this standing ovation for something she hasn't accomplished. You know who deserves a standing ovation?
Oh, for the love of God.
Vin Diesel.
Really? Is that right?
Yes. The Vins.
I mean, wouldn't it be the Diesels?
Whatever you want to call it.
The Vins, if you're
The
gonna
Diesel
change-
for Best Picture. I think you're right. It should be the Diesel. Yeah, the Diesel. The Diesel.
Cardinals? Guillermo, put it on the poll, please.
Man, I missed
At
that.
Lebitard Show.
Damn.
If you know what I meant and correct me anyway, are you a bleep hole? Because really what's happening there, if you know enough to correct me, you know exactly what I meant and just want to correct me.
The Cards.
So thank you to all of you who did that. Stugotz was laughing and also saying it's good analysis on boxing. His first take is in Las Vegas for a legitimately fun heavyweight fight. And Andre Ward, who we all like as an analyst around here, except for Billy and Chris, because they don't pay attention to boxing unless Conor McGregor is doing it. You loved his commentary on Golic and Wingo, right?
He was on Golic and Wingo this morning, and yeah, he refused to make a prediction. Now, I love predictions. I mean, you're a boxing analyst. Biggest heavyweight fight in years is coming up. I love a good prediction, but what Andre Ward did is he said, I'm going to predict two things. Great fight, there's going to be a knockout, but no one knows who's winning this fight.
That's what Vegas is saying. That's what that's what the money is saying as well. They've got an undefeated fighter. This is I was saying yesterday that I mean, Deontay Wilder deserves all of your respect for a number of different reasons, but he is a menace of a man. But Tyson Fury is getting the respect of centuries of bare knuckle fighting in his family, combined with He retired a Klitschko, man, and say what you will about the Klitschkos. If they'd been Americans, they would have been superstars. But because they weren't American, and people didn't care about the Klitschkos, but he retired. Tyson Fury retired a Klitschko and is getting the credit for that. And he got up.
He's a zombie, Dan.
He got up from Deontay Wilder knocking him down, and nobody does that. So right, Deontay Wilder is now fighting the undead Tyson Fury.
It's a bet that I was so happy to lose because sometimes you have such fond memories of your bad beats. I was up and celebrating a victory with that knockout for 8 seconds. And dude just Undertakered his way
weird.
back up. It was the most
weird.
bizarre
It was weird.
thing.
He was clearly, see, this is the thing, right? Because Teddy Atlas told us when Deontay Wilder hits you, it's the biggest punch in the history of the game. That's Teddy Atlas saying it.
It's crazy.
And when Deontay Wilder talked to us during the Super Bowl and was saying that he always knows when he catches a guy. When he catches a guy, he knows it is done. And he hits Tyson Fury. And Tyson Fury hits his back in what would have been one of these epic knockouts that we would have kept replaying because he's just on his back, clearly unconscious. But he was only unconscious for 8 seconds.
Not only did he know, everyone knew. Everyone knew that was a knockout.
Of course it was over.
I can't believe it still.
I still can't. I still think that ended in a knockout. I still don't understand what happened there. And the only explanation is Tyson Fury's a zombie. And he would be, Stugotz, we've talked about this before. The fight game is one of the last places in 2020 where you could sort of merrily traffic in bad race relations. Just prop up the, from George Clooney to what was that guy's name? Peter McNeely.
Oh, boy.
We have been propping up white heavyweights.
George Clooney.
George Clooney.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah.
It was
Jerry
George Cooney or Jerry Cooney?
Jerry Cooney.
Jerry Cooney,
Yeah, $10. First name
That's
and
not
last name.
$5. It's a $5 fine.
The Arizona Cardinals.
It's also not the first time you've done that.
It is the second time. I think you guys have a rejoin of me doing that. Why do I keep calling Jerry Cooney George Clooney? Guys, you know how much worse the next 10 years are going to get?
You've got
10 more years?
Honest to God. I'm just saying in talking to me. I'm not talking about doing this. I'm not doing this for 10 more years. I'm talking about just talking to me. You guys are going to be talking to me, and I'm not going to get any names right.
I'm already updating the old resume. I mean, 10 years.
Well, you'll never talk to me again the moment that we stop paying you
Oh,
for
that's
it.
not true. Come on, I love you, man.
You really like boxing, or is this like the XFL thing where we're just, it's on ESPN?
I really love the XFL.
I think that Dan is boxing's best pitchman. I'm serious.
Yeah.
No, he's got me excited about this fight. Dan knows the history of boxing.
excited.
No.
Listen, it's probably going to start a little too
It's a
late for
9
my
o'clock.
flavor.
It's a 9 o'clock
There's
start.
that doesn't
No,
start at
that's
9.
not-
Don't kid
come on,
yourself.
Dan,
9
don't be
o'clock.
undercard.
The undercard.
Wait a second. You're the boxing expert. Maybe it is all put on.
Wait around. I mean, boxing's a newspaper of sports, right?
That thing starts on Sunday.
ESPN says 9 p.m. They're trying to get it right there. You say boxing is the newspaper of sports.
I'm asking. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out.
I know that you're not interested in it.
I mean, boxing certainly needs to sit through a compliance video. I think we can all agree. Even in the promotional materials, forget like the racial aspects of this. Everything is you're a B, you're a P.
Am I wrong, though, in saying that even wrestling has cleaned that up? That even professional wrestling, which used to just traffic in silly stereotypes when it came, even wrestling has cleaned that up. But boxing is like, nah, we'll have the black guy and the Mexican fight on Cinco de Mayo. That's cool. We'll just foster that hatred and wrap it in flags. Yeah.
And sombreros. We'll just lean all the way into it.
And so Tyson Fury is a loudly homophobic man. He is very eloquent on the subject of mental illness and depression. When he won the heavyweight championship, he found that everything at the top of the mountain was totally empty. He wasn't sharing it with anyone. He went on a terrible cocaine binge and gained a bunch of weight, which is rare with a cocaine binge.
Well, he used to be really loud about his homophobia, and he became this mental health advocate. And to be fair, I wasn't even aware of the homophobia until Izzy Gutierrez brought my attention to it, because at the time I'm like, wow, what a positive mental health advocate. But he has this past, and he hasn't exactly publicly talked away from it.
Mike, it's allowed in that sport. It is allowed to speak that way because there are no consequences when you can hit a man like that and you don't have any teammates and the business you represent is just yourself. And we understand that it's barbaric. We understand that it's violent. We understand that it's primitive. We understand that some of you should be in cages.
And we still pay to watch Floyd Mayweather lose.
Oh, man.
Fight of the decade.
You do realize.
It's not, though. This is not the fight of the decade. This is not going to outsell Conor McGregor and Floyd. So you can't say this is the fight of the decade.
I think this does.
No
I
chance.
think this
Stop being a
does.
shill. No chance.
No,
This
I
is
think
just
it
an
does.
ESPN thing at this point. It has to be. There's no way you think this
You
is going to
guys
be bigger.
tell me if I'm wrong.
We
that
followed Conor McGregor and Floyd for like months while they were going on a tour around the country.
Yeah.
This fight is Saturday, and they had to go on The Masked Singer last night to promote it.
Look, I don't dance now. I make money moves.
Great.
Why would you disparage the Masked Singer?
It's a
That's
show.
not
I
really
mean.
on brand. Isn't that the biggest show in America?
I knew those two right away. I knew who they were when they came out in masks. That's Tyson Fury.
Advance Auto Parts Stugotz. They're supporting what we're doing around here in a way that is very strong. Tell people how they can support the people who support us.
Football season is over. Now your Thursdays, Sundays, and Mondays are dreadfully open until August. Luckily, Advance Auto Parts has something productive you can do to fill the time. Getting your vehicle's battery tested. It's free, and if your battery is low, they'll install your new one for you with purchase. Plus, enter the code DAN20 when you buy online to save 20%. The only shame is how fast you'll get in, out, and back to twiddling your thumbs until football starts up again. Think ahead. Think Advance. Only at Advance Auto Parts.
We achieve greatness by accident a majority of the time.
Some version of Hey Dan on Saturday night do you have in the second round by knockout Gene Wilder?
At around 9:32 p.m. Eastern.
You guys need to go ahead and Google. I'm surprised actually that Billy and Chris even knew who Gene Wilder was, because one of the byproducts of how old I'm getting and getting everyone's names wrong is that I'm usually the only one who knows. Me and Stugotz are the only one. Actually, Roy too.
Yeah.
Roy skews old. We know all these old references. What are you laughing about, Billy?
Because Chris turned to me and said, I just laughed so that, to laugh, support him.
So he doesn't know. All right, well then Google search. Go ahead, Chris, and Google search Gene Wilder just so you can see.
Willy Wonka.
It's more of a.
Oh, it's the guy from Willy Wonka.
It's more of a visual joke even than it is.
He's more a meme now, right? More than anything.
It's the
just
guy
laughed
from
to
that
support
meme.
him.
Yeah.
Visually, though, it's funny to think of him as knocking out Tyson Fury. Got the mop of hair, doesn't look terribly athletic. I feel like for wasn't Gene Wilder for a while, Mike? Do I not have this right? That Gene Wilder for a while was one of America's biggest movie stars, was he not?
I think that's an appropriate take.
Yeah.
No longer with us, by the way.
I'm sorry about that. Too soon?
Why are you questioning that? Of course he was, Gene Wilder.
Well, no, but
Wait, why is it an of course? Like, I think there was some years in between, like Young Frankenstein and Willy Wonka and The Chocolate Factory. I know that he had some very memorable movies, but I think he went years in between.
Well, didn't he star a couple of times opposite Richard Pryor at the height of Richard Pryor?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
And so, I mean, you could have made the argument that Gene Wilder was one of America's biggest movie stars, but also what, Billy? What are you laughing about?
Chris is still trying to figure out who Gene Wilder is.
I think he was in Casper. I'm looking it up.
Just Google, just image search him. Like, just image search him so you could laugh at the idea of that winning a heavyweight fight. That's all I want you to do. We've got Joe Tessitore coming on with us at 11:30 Eastern. Mike Ryan's got a poor Joe Tessitore impersonation.
Baker Mayfield.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we have Joe Tess coming on, Boog. He's promoting the biggest fight in the world.
I love Joe Tess. I think he is one of the best play-by-play guys we have going
Medium
right now.
rare
Yeah.
on the steak.
Oh,
wit.
of course.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Zach Lowe is going to be on with us at noon Eastern to talk some basketball, and I'm surprised to see this on the guest list and delighted. And I feel like this is someone we've been tracking for a really long time. Frank Stallone is going to be on in 2 hours because we want to understand, among other things, how it is that Jay Glazer is hanging out with Al Pacino and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone at Sylvester Stallone's house and in Frank Stallone's Instagram.
I say we lead with boxing and maybe hit that on the back end. Just from what I've heard about the setup for this, maybe don't lead with that.
Yeah, close with it.
Yeah.
What do you mean? What have you?
Just builds up the anticipation.
Don't come out too hot.
He's coming on as our boxing expert.
Yeah, he's our boxing
And then we're
expert.
gonna backdoor the picture.
Maybe.
Right, yeah.
If there's time.
All right, good plan.
Flies, brother.
All right.
I think you've just exposed my real and genuine lack of boxing knowledge. What do you mean Frank Stallone's a boxing expert?
He's a Stallone. I mean,
Yeah.
his brother's Rocky.
His brother
I
is
mean.
Rocky.
So that's it.
Rocky Balboa.
So is that
The
wait a minute?
Italian
Wait,
stallion.
so wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait, there was one time in our show's history, this was a long time ago, where we were building up to one of the Rockies and we had just an assortment of people on from the Rocky movies, but never Sylvester Stallone.
No.
We didn't have Frank Stallone on either, but we're having Frank Stallone on to celebrate boxing as the
Yes.
brother of Rocky.
No, as our boxing expert.
Yes.
Yeah, and boxing historian, and
yeah.
you must introduce him that way.
Yes.
Also, author of one of my favorite songs of all time, "Far From Over," which is just an unbelievable hype song. Talk to him about that.
Go ahead and
But
play.
boxing first.
Can you play a little snippet, or we have to wait
Man,
until
I
he
wanted
comes
to,
on? We
I
can
wanted
only
to
play
it
it one time.
Yeah, I can only play it once, and I wanted to do it like I wanted to play that absolute banger. You know what? I'm gonna play it now.
No, we can play it
because
for him. That's
no.
fine. We could get his reaction.
No,
to it.
but like he's a boxing expert, and I don't want to waste his time. I'm gonna burn it up.
No,
This is
no,
a
no,
great
no,
song.
no. Don't burn.
Don't do
No,
it,
this
Mike.
is great.
Don't do it, Mike.
burn
Come on,
it.
don't do it, Mike.
We're
Don't
only
do it,
allowed to
Mike.
play it
No,
once.
Just
Don't
hum
do
it. Just hum it.
Mike,
No,
Mike,
that-
don't do it. We can't
You
hum
want
it
me
either.
to? You want me to hum it?
No, if he hums it, that burns it too. You can't do it. You're not allowed to
semantics.
do it.
Oh,
No,
no.
no, don't do that.
Mike,
Don't do that.
Mike,
Be
don't do
careful.
it. Mike.
Don't careful. What are you
I don't know
doing?
what song he's talking about. Yeah.
It's
You need to
reckless.
hear it?
Sounds like you have to sneeze.
Okay.
Dun, 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 dun,
You're
dun,
a
dun.
terrible hummer. Oh, there it is. Now
That's
you
what
know
you were
what it
humming?
is. Now
That's
you
what you were humming?
There it is. Yeah.
Look, I don't dance now. I make money moves.
So that's it. We burned it.
Yep. I have one goal here with Frank Stallone. I'm telling you right now. I mean, hopefully this goes well. I am angling to get Sylvester Stallone on the show. Okay, I want to make
say.
I
This
wanna
is your
make-
angle.
I want to make Frank a friend of the show. I don't want Frank to come back with friends. And by friends, I mean his brother Sylvester. That's it. We all want Sly on the show, man, don't we?
I honestly, if given the choice, I'd pick Frank Stallone. I love Far From Over.
I just love Billy. I love your reaction because it was the appropriate reaction. Stugotz, it just sort of dawned on him. you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to announce to everybody that now I want Sylvester Stallone, as if we haven't wanted him for 17 years.
I'm going to get him now.
But now, okay, here we go.
Honestly,
he's got one crumb in front of the Sylvester Stallone household, and he's gonna follow it all the way there.
Has there ever been one guest you haven't wanted more from?
Nope.
Honestly, if we had Sylvester Stallone on, I'd just use it as a means to get Frank Stallone on.
Billy, I've told you that story. Some of Stugotz's friends came in here one time, and they wanted pictures, and they kept taking pictures and kept taking pictures, taking 45 minutes of pictures, and then turned to me and said, hey, can you ask your dad to come in 2 hours early to take pictures? And I look at Stugotz, and he's like, yeah. You just keep asking. What's the harm? Somebody just says no at the end. Like, just keep asking.
You don't know unless you ask, Dano.
Thank you, Stugotzo. Blink, people. It's a dangerous world out there. That's why you need to protect your home by installing Blink cameras in and around your home. Tell them, Gotzo.
Where do you need a Blink security camera? On your porch to help protect deliveries? Helping keep your family safe when you travel. How about alerting you when the kids get home from school? It's a good idea. Blink cameras are motion activated. When they detect something, they send an alert and a video clip to your Blink smartphone app, and the Blink XD2 features two-way talk. Systems start at just $79.99. So where do you need Blink cameras? Visit blinkprotect.com/Dan. That's blinkprotect.com/Dan.
He's a full court press. Like, you want to say no, and he's just a full court press of keeps coming at you. What is it? It's Nolan Richardson's 40 Minutes of Hell, except it's 40 years of it.
I don't know if you know this, but we're kind of a big deal.
Missed any of our interviews? Check them out on demand in the Dan Le Batard podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Saver Card. Earn 4% cash back on dining and entertainment, 2% at grocery stores, and 1% on all other purchases. Capital One, what's in your wallet? All guests on the Dan Le Batard show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
So we've got Joe Tessitore joining us at 11:30. We've got Zach Lowe at noon. We've got Frank Stallone at 12:30 Eastern. We've got... for better or for worse, a Masked Singer update in 15 minutes. It's a very polarizing segment.
I am still reeling over the news that it wasn't Queen Latifah and it was Shaka Khan. Yeah. That was playing the Monstress.
Everyone got real mad at Shaka Khan for the NBA All-Star performance. No? Like, people didn't like that so much. I figure, like, if it's Shaka Khan, you got to let go whatever happens there. Like, it's Shaka Khan.
Why? It was controversial? I was watching Roughnecks Battlehawks.
I felt like a lot of people didn't like her taking creative license with the song.
There were a lot of people who had issue with, as Dan just pointed out, with her taking liberties with the national anthem.
Thank you for repeating exactly what you said.
Maybe took it a little too far. I didn't think it at the time.
I thought it was going to go to Aubrey Huff's World Series stats.
No, I didn't think it at the time. I was thinking she's not singing this exactly the way it's supposed to be sang, but that's what you sign up for with Shaka Khan. But I think some players were made uncomfortable by it. Like, I was checking them out. They were all looking at each other like, what is this?
Did she change the words? What happened?
She changed a lot. I don't know. No, the words were the same, but I mean, she was
didn't
doing
change
it.
the words. Mike, what do you want to put on the poll?
The tune, you know, it was like
That's
it was.
what you get. That's what you sign up for with Shaka Khan. Put
Isn't
on the
it?
poll.
I
Yes
don't
or
know.
no? Put it on the poll, Guillermo. That's what you sign up for with Shaka Khan. Yes or no?
They were just angry because she was trying to hit high notes and they couldn't understand what she was saying. That's the gist of it.
Okay.
Was it as creative as Fergie's performance?
Oh, let's not get into that.
Would you agree that players were looking at other players in a strange way while she was performing the national anthem? Did you notice that?
No.
Okay, I did. Tony, you did too, right? I mean, how could you not notice? I mean,
Why are you dragging Tony into this?
well, he was shaking his head. Yes, yeah, I saw it. We all felt it. I mean, they were panning around. Everyone looking at each other. What is this?
I have a question here. Speaking of polarizing things, Mike, I have a question here, and I do not know the answer to what it is that I'm asking you. So I would like your help with this because I really don't know very much. I've stayed out of, in almost every way in my life, how this show is sold. and I am just getting non-stop complaints about the number of Bloomberg ads.
Whoa!
You knew what you were getting into there.
Amazing.
Yeah, man. That's a large-scale buy, to answer your question. We have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It's not a Levitard show buy.
So
Wait.
stop asking us.
Yeah, I don't have the answers for you. It's not a Levitard show buy. What do you want me to tell you?
There you go.
I want an answer from ESPN on why it is that we can't talk politics, but we could take politics money. That's what I
Large-scale
want.
buy.
Whoa.
Large-scale buy.
Would you rather always
Yeah.
say everything on your mind or never speak again?
Never speak again.
What?
Yeah, never speak again.
Oh,
I
because
always say
presently, I got
everything
a
that's
lot.
on my mind.
Yeah. Presently, we all have a lot on our mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the world I'm in. It's an in-between world.
I
mean,
like swallowing my resentments and letting them boil over time.
So you're
Which one?
basically me.
Which would Stugotz take here? Because always saying everything on your mind, I assume this means that you have to be honest, does it not?
No.
So there's no truth in your
Because
mind?
lies are always on its mind.
Just speak your mind.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, but your mind
let
can't
it
be.
fly.
No, but truth, isn't that what
Truth
it
is never on his mind.
Isn't that what the question is, though? Forgive me for parsing it this way. I know that the magic creative content is not to be treated with such reverence, but speaking everything on your mind means every thought that you have,
Right.
not lies.
But sometimes my thoughts are factual and real, and sometimes my thoughts are lies. I mean, whatever comes out of my mouth. I mean, who knows? But I want to speak, so I'm going to speak. I choose speaking.
Someone in our studio is listening to the Shaka Khan performance, and I can hear it in my ears, and it's painful.
There you go.
It's me. I'm listening to it. It's me.
It is
you
strikingly
want to
bad.
play some of it?
If you listen really
No, we can't.
closely, you'll hear players looking at other
All right,
players going, what
let's
the
go ahead.
bleep is
Let's-
going on?
Mike,
I mean,
let's go ahead.
I
Let's go
just
ahead.
said we can't play it. No, we can't go ahead. No, we can't. No, it's Chris. Your judgment is so bad. This is Turner. This is game
Roll the
broadcast.
dice, baby.
It's the
No.
national anthem.
No,
You gotta pay for it.
It's disseminated. You know those like legal disclaimers.
I'll text
roll
Chuck.
the dice.
You're not the barometer.
Rules.
Who's gonna take us to court for being patriotic in
AOL
America
Time
and
Warner.
playing the
Yeah,
national
AOL
anthem?
Turner.
AOL Time Warner.
Yeah.
It's their property.
Yeah, Ted Turner. Your judgment is so bad.
I'm with you. What are the?
Is America gonna sue us? What are we doing here?
Let's get Bloomberg to pay for it, whatever the fine
Oh,
is.
no.
I'm out on that one.
It's just Warner. It's not AOL Time Warner.
Yeah,
Those
Warner
were the
Media.
days.
Yeah.
Remember how excited you would be when like AOL 3.0 would come out?
Remember the disc?
The disc.
3 hours.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite Warner Brothers character?
Oh, good question.
Oh, Bugs Bunny.
I'm partial to any duck. Donald Duck, Daffy Duck.
I like
I'm gonna say
Daffy.
Daffy.
Yeah,
I like
Donald's a different
Plucky Duck from
company.
Tiny Toons Adventures.
Plucky, yeah.
Malcolm Jamal. Oh, yeah.
Buster. Oh, Malcolm Jamal. Yeah, that's a good one.
Who would be the first ballot Hall of Famers there? Like the first ballot, not messing around. The best you can do.
Kurt Warner.
He was first ballot. It's an excellent point there, Whit.
Jack Warner. Yeah.
Was Kurt Warner first ballot?
He should have been.
I don't know.
Should he have been?
Yeah. I walked past him during the Super Bowl. Tall.
And handsome.
Are you guys sure he's first ballot?
Shoulders broad.
Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at Lebitard Show. Was Kurt Warner, one of the Warner brothers, first ballot Hall of Famer?
They hate us because they ain't us.
Pineapple, overrated. Anything
Whoa.
pineapple related is overrated.
How about pineapples? Your thoughts there?
I'm allergic to them.
You know, it was a sign of wealth back in the day.
Really?
Yeah. If you wanted to prove to people that you were wealthy, you would carry around a pineapple.
Mike, what the hell are you talking about that people used to walk around with pineapples? What people? What are you talking about?
I think he's actually
not
right about this.
something
Yeah,
that-
he's right.
You should probably apologize to Mike then.
Singer update. Stugotz looked it up during the break. And what did you find regarding Kurt Warner's Hall of Fame status?
First ballot Hall of Famer, Dan.
So why am I reading a story here that says former Cardinals quarterback Kurt Warner came agonizingly close to making it in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in his first 2 years of eligibility, advancing to the final 10 each time? That's $5.
Wow. Well, how do you know?
That's $5.
How do you know?
I mean, I don't think what I'm reading is wrong.
How do you know?
It's a fine for one of us.
Where are you
I'm
reading
either
it from?
being fooled by the internet or you got it simply wrong. What are you reading that says that Kurt Warner's a first ballot Hall of Famer? Because you told me during the break he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I don't trust you. So I looked it up myself, and that's the sentence that I read. Who's right?
I'm looking at the Bleacher Report.
All right, read to me what you're reading.
Kurt Warner is a first ballot Hall of
Oh,
Famer.
it's somebody's opinion?
Oh, my God.
The Arizona quarterback Kurt Warner decided to hang up his cleats and announce his retirement. When Warner was good, he was among the best in the league, if not the best. Wow, this is an opinion piece.
An opinion piece.
Perhaps I should have read more.
Time now for the Masked Singer.
You jerk.
All right, guys. Let's just go straight to the Music Dome this week. Welcome to the Music Dome, everybody. Guess what? Big week. It was the Group B kickoff, and you know what that means, guys? Yes?
No, we don't know what it means, Billy.
Trey Wingo just texted me, not a first ballot Hall. Thanks, Trey.
All right, guys, this is what it means. Last week, if you remember, we figured out who was going to go to the final 9, the top 9 from Group A. This week, Group B kickoff, which that means 6 new contestants. All right, this week we were introduced to the frog, the elephant, the kitty, the taco, the mouse, and the banana. Guys, I know what you're thinking. Who was this week's guest judge? So serious in Group B kickoff, no guest judges. We're just going to go straight into the performances. The first performance was by the frog.
Ooh.
The frog performed You Can't Touch This by
MC Hammer. Oh, it's MC Hammer.
By MC Hammer. It's probably not MC Hammer. Here were the clues. There was a lightning bolt. There was a thing on the floor, like kind of a flyer of the 1996 Olympic Games. And then there was $106 kind of like on the ledge of something. This performer's short. And then there was a bag of leftovers with hush puppies in it. All right, do you guys have any guesses as to who this might be?
Michael Johnson.
That's what Jenny guessed.
Short, Mike.
Any other guesses?
He said he was short, though. Michael
Ben
Johnson.
Stein.
Ooh, Ben Stein. Good guess, Chris. Dan?
I don't know how tall Michael Johnson
Peter
is.
Dinklage.
Ooh, no. Dan?
Dinklage was in the 96 Olympics?
I mean, Carl Lewis.
I just went
Dan
short.
O'Brien.
Ooh, Dominic Dawes.
Wasn't he a shot putter?
Dominic Dawes, actually.
Who you got, Billy?
All right, this is who Ken thought it could be. Carl Lewis. Nicole thought that it could be Ray J. Jenny thought that it could be Michael Johnson. Billy thought that it could be Bow Wow. Let me tell you why. Bow Wow, Atlanta, $106. Where did Bow Wow work for a little bit? 106 and Park. That's right, Dan. And
Wow.
Hush Puppies, Bow Wow.
Yeah, it's got to be him.
The frog, incredibly talented. In it to win it, if you ask me. This one's going to go far. All right, let's move on to performance number 2, the elephant. The elephant performed Friday I'm in Love by The Cure.
It's Dan.
Dan, are you the elephant?
I am not the elephant.
Oh, all right. Well, here are some of the clues. A drummer, then it said 1-minute show, not sure what that meant. And then there was parading through the White House was something that the drummer said that he has done. All right, any guesses as who the elephant is?
Honestly, hold up.
Yes.
Dan was away for a very long time.
Yep.
It was mysterious absent. And it's an elephant, which
Yeah.
means the person inside might be bigger.
No, but this elephant was a bit slender. Not saying Dan
well, then
isn't.
Dan's out.
They are costumes, though, so I guess you could make someone Can you make someone skinnier? if
No,
they're
Dan's
not?
been trying forever.
Oh, all right. Well, here were the guesses by the judges. Jenny thought that it could be Lance Armstrong. Nicole thought that it would either Travis Barker or Tommy Lee. Robin agreed on Tommy Lee. And Ken thought that it was...
Will Cade.
Just tell
Beto
us.
O'Rourke, which is an awful guess.
Wow.
Absolutely awful guess. All right, let's just move on to the kitty. The kitty came out.
Not even
The
the right
kitty,
mascot for the party.
very small, the kitty. Well, that's what Ken was saying. Ken said, guess what? They're trying to throw you off here. There's an elephant
I
here. and not
immediately
the
regret having that thought.
Yeah. All right. The kitty performed Dangerous Woman by Ariana Grande. Here were the clues. She wants to wipe the slate clean. There were some pirates, rose petals, which made some people think, hey, maybe this is one of the bachelorettes or something like that. And then there was, guys, biggest clue that I've ever seen in the costume, 2 different colored eyes.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, here are the guesses. None of the judges picked up on that, by the way, but we saw it at home. Here were the guesses. Nicole said, quote, she's adorbs, and then thought that it could be Julianne Hough or Paris Hilton. Ken thought that it could be Nicole Richie. Do you guys have any guesses?
Max Scherzer.
Stugotz, I like where your head's at. Possibly. You know who else has 2 different colored eyes? Looked it up on the internet. Mila Kunis. Possibly. All right, let's move on to the taco. The taco sang Fly Me to the Moon by Frank Sinatra. Here were some of the clues. Comfort food, maybe a comedian. A little bit silly, the taco. Decades doing this is something that the taco said. Not sure if it's singing or just performing. A bit of a performer. And then there was a trolley, which everybody thought, hey, automatically San Francisco vibe. Any guesses, anybody?
I really want to stop guessing and just get to whatever the finish line is on this.
All right, we still have 2 more people, Dan. So the taco, here were the guesses. Nicole thought that it could be Regis Philbin. Ken thought that it could be Martin Short. And Robin thought that it could be Bob Saget. Now, here's the thing about Bob Saget. Too tall, and the taco was about the same height as Nick Cannon, who's 6 feet tall. Bob Saget's either 6'4" or 6'5", so probably not Bob Saget. Also, I have an inside source that told me it is 100% not Regis Philbin.
He's 90 years old. He can't be doing that stuff.
Well, my source said that it's not Regis Philbin, so Regis is out. All right, guys, let's move on to the mouse. The mouse performed Get Here by Oleta Adams. Here were some of the clues. Oh, actually, guys, before the mouse, we had a surprise. We had 2 people come out in masks, and who were they?
Tyson Fury. And
Yes!
Waller.
Yes! How did you know?
We covered it earlier.
You told us a half hour ago.
Oh, all right. So let's just move on to the mouse. The mouse's clues were leader in the field. Then it said bang bang for motion on there. I don't know exactly what that means. And then there was kind of football players playing. One was number 19, the other was number 79, and it said Warriors on the back. No idea what any of that means. Here were the guesses. Nicole thought that it could be Darlene Love. Robin thought that it could be Dionne Warwick, who someone guesses every single week on The Masked Singer. Every week, every season, someone thinks that Dionne Warwick's going to do it. Dionne Warwick, if you're watching this, which you're not, please just do The Masked Singer so we can stop guessing
He's
that
totally
Dionne
watching
Warwick,
this on ESPN News. Go ahead,
You
keep
don't
it
think
moving.
so? Maybe she listens to the pod. No. All right, and Ken thought that it could be Maya Rudolph. Let's move on to the final performer of the night, the Banana. The Banana performed A Little Less Conversation by Elvis Presley. Now, the Banana is out to trick all of us.
I wish
because
this
here
was a
were the
little bit
clues.
less conversation.
What's that?
Never mind, keep it moving.
All right, here were some of the clues that we saw right away. The Banana had kind of like a picnic thing set up, and on the picnic thing, a cowboy hat and a blowfish. So everybody, of course, thinks, oh my God, it's Hootie, it's Darius Rucker, right? Then the Banana sings exactly like Elvis, and that's not what Hootie sounds like, so it can't be Hootie, right? Unless Hootie's playing a trick on all of us, and it's Hootie, and he's just playing with his voice to throw us all off. Not gonna know until a couple, weeks down the road. All right, here's what the guesses were. Jenny thought that it could be Bill Engvall. Nicole thought that it was Ed Helms, and Robin fell for the Hootie trick and thought it could be Darius Rucker. All right, that was the final performance of the night in Group B, so we invite all of our contestants back on stage. Contestants, come out and join me, please. Lorenzo?
Okay, we're on the radio. Just keep it moving, please.
All right, we need the contestants to be
He'll
behind me.
eventually do that. Lorenzo will get
All right.
around to it.
Okay, so just so you guys remember, since you can't see it, and especially if you're listening, you can't see it, the frog, the elephant, the kitty, the taco, the mouse, and the banana, all of them should be behind me on stage, but they're not right now. Who do you guys think were eliminated this week?
Can you just tell us who was eliminated, please?
It was the elephant, Dan. Yes. The
And who was the elephant?
eliminated.
Who was the elephant?
All right, Dan, it's time for everybody's final guesses. Jenny thought that it was Lance Armstrong. Ken thought that it was Beto O'Rourke. Nicole switched it up, and she thought, not Travis Barker, not Tommy Lee, she thought that it was your friend and ours, Steve Aoki. Dan, do you think it's Steve Aoki?
I think it's me.
Oh, really? Any other guesses in the room?
No, just
No,
for
just
the
get
gig.
to it,
Al
please,
Roker.
for the love of God.
Al Roker. Wow, good guess, Chris. Robin switched it up at the end, too, and thought that it could be Travis Pastrana.
I'm good not knowing their guesses.
All right, guys, time for the big reveal. The elephant was none other than Tony Hawk. How about that, guys?
Wow.
Big season so far. Shaka Khan, Tony Hawk, Lil Wayne.
Chris, what are
Drew
you laughing?
Carey.
Chris, what are you laughing about? That he jumped up and delivered
He's
that?
having fun. This is a fun
He
segment.
loves it.
Well, I'm not
has
having fun at all.
What it is
All
too
right,
long
guys.
a segment. Is what it is.
Come again?
Too long.
What?
Just finish it up.
All right, guys, that's going to do
Pay
it.
that man his money.
Poor Bill.
What do you mean, poor Billy?
I'm with him. Poor Billy.
No, poor
What are you
me.
doing to him? That's his segment. That's his baby. We just pooped on it.
Blink, people. Install Blink cameras in and around your home so you can better protect your family today. Tell them, Stugotz.
Where do you need a Blink security camera? On your porch to help protect deliveries? Is he still going? He's still talking.
He's dancing.
Helping keep your family safe when you travel. How about alerting you when the kids get home from school? Blink cameras are motion activated. When they detect something, they send an alert and a video clip to your Blink smartphone app. And the Blink XT2 features two-way talk. System start at just $79.99. So, where do you need Blink cameras? Visit blinkprotect.com/Dan. That's blinkprotect.com/Dan.
King Kong ain't got nothing on us.
If you missed any of our interviews, check them out on demand in the Dan Le Batard podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Venture Card. When you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase, your next trip is closer than you think. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Dan, it's time for Straight Talk. It is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless.
Joe Tessitore in about 10 minutes. Zach Lowe at noon Eastern. Frank Stallone, brother of Sylvester Stallone, at 12:30 Eastern. There is a story right now that isn't getting the kind of attention this story would normally get when I place a complicated scandal from football in your lap. But if you've been reading the news lately, you have seen that 3 entities that have represented Americana have declared for bankruptcy because they find themselves in a position where they can't handle all the pedophilia lawsuits. The Boy Scouts, most recently, U.S. Gymnastics, and of course, the church. And so, or the, certain kinds of archdioceses out there, because you want to avoid, you just can't pay all of the damages regarding pedophilia. And the biggest sports scandal, it can be argued, of our lifetime didn't look like it at the beginning. It was just Jerry Sandusky and a claim, and it ended up in page 5D of your sports section when it was just Jerry Sandusky. And then it mushroomed with further reporting into what you saw, which is something unlike anything we've ever seen in sports that, you can make the argument not only, fired Joe Paterno in disgrace, but then killed him. And if you're reading, and this is complicated because it is layered and it requires a great deal more reporting, and I don't know who's going to do the reporting to find what could be, Stugotz, if you are inclined to believe the very worst in people is the kind of thing that would be bigger than Donald Sterling, take your team away type of stuff. And I don't know who's covering it well, but I'd like to talk to somebody who's covering it well, because we do not do well around these subjects as a sports media. It's not something that is easily handled. Hell, it's something that's hard to handle even if you're the Boston Globe and, Marty Baron winning Pulitzer Prizes for handling it when you reveal this kind of stuff. But if you read about it and you're prone to be super, super skeptical and cynical of people's motives, there's some dirty stuff involving the Saints that isn't getting enough coverage if you're willing to go to your most negative places.
There hasn't been the big spotlight expose investigative journalism piece on this just yet because there are confidential documents, emails, that the New Orleans Saints are presently fighting to keep confidential, even though publicly they say they don't mind those documents being out there. In court, they're filing motions to keep these things confidential. Right now, the accusations are, the worst accusation that the New Orleans Saints are facing is that they worked hand in hand with the Archdiocese of New Orleans and
to protect some priests.
There was a list of sexual abuse offenders, alleged sexual abuse offenders, that was put out, and the accusation is the New Orleans Saints and their PR team had input on which names were actually released, conceivably, and the AP did an investigative piece on this saying this list is about short 20 names.
Your best case scenario is you've got the Saints helping an archdiocese with public relations around the worst crime that one can imagine.
When it comes across your timeline, you're like, why? What is this? Why? Well, I read, and the why is Gail Benson, the owner of the New Orleans Saints, is a devout Catholic. She's donated tens of millions of dollars to the Archdiocese of New Orleans. Now, let's just say you want to believe the absolute best in people. Then Gail Benson, who's a devout Catholic, offered up her PR
just giving
team.
a lot of money to support something she believes.
Yeah, and is offering up people in her PR team that have expertise in dealing with big-time
That's your best
scandals.
Case scenario.
Which is unseemly, too.
Your best case scenario is the unseemliness of an NFL team, Law and Order NFL, getting involved with helping with PR around something that no one wants to be around.
Right, and the public relations people are doing the public relations spin, which is, no, we're working to make sure that we're protecting the best interests of the public, getting this list out there. But if the accusation is true, that the New Orleans Saints actually helped the Archdiocese withhold some of these names, if you were a cynic, you'd say Gail Benson and maybe some people in the New Orleans Saints recognize some of the names. Was she protecting people? Who knows? But if you believe the absolute worst in people, and that happens to be true and proven true in the courts, that is one of the biggest scandals in the history
take your team away bad
of the NFL.
Yes, it is take your team away bad. And I don't know what the truth is there. We don't know what the truth is there. I will tell you this portion of the truth exists. The sports media is kind of ill-equipped to cover this well. I remember the best reporting initially on the Penn State scandal was all locally. It was, in fact, I believe a local reporter at a very small newspaper ended up winning. Did she end up winning the Pulitzer Prize for the reporting because again, that started as such a small thing. It's just a defensive coordinator, in quotes. And then you saw it mushroom into the biggest sports scandal any of us have ever seen. Awkward transition here. Joe Tessitore is going to join us next.
That is Straight Talk. It is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Everything for less, only at Walmart.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Joe Tess is going to join us in a second. Mike Ryan is very excited about this. Billy disputes how excited Joe Tess is about this.
I've never seen Mike this excited for an interview, calling him Mr. Tessitore.
Yes.
And they're like talking off air. And Joe's, very nice. And he's there and he's drinking his coffee. And Mike's like, oh my God, Joe Tess, I love you so much. And then there's a slight delay. So like Mike is like, oh, you have such a great voice. I'm such a fan of your work. And he's like 10 sentences back. And then Joe's finally here. He's like, thank you, Michael. That's very kind of you to say.
His voice is extraordinary. It really is. It is the perfect voice. We will get to Joe Tess in a second. A tweeter writes in, I wish Le Batard would stop making Billy Gill's Mass Singer segments so long by interrupting him so much to hurry it up.
You don't get the show.
You do kind of make it drag, Dan.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Joe Tess going to join us in just a second here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We're all very excited. Here's your SportsCenter update. The National Football League and the Players Association will meet soon to discuss their collective bargaining agreement. Among the things on the docket, a 17-game season with the preseason shortened to 3 games and the expansion of the playoffs to 7 teams per conference, with the best team receiving a bye. Love all of it. North Carolina State defeated 6th-ranked Duke 88-66. Coach K said after the game it happens, this isn't an Xbox game, it's a human being game. Thanks. And finally, a French soccer player has been banned 5 years for biting an opponent's privates. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
A wry smile on the face of Joe Tess as he hears about a rival soccer player biting the privates of another soccer player. And he remains smiling and also grimacing. His voice is amazing, just deep. Did you have this voice? Did you have this broadcaster voice from when you were 8 years old?
Dude. I don't know, really, it's a broadcaster's voice. It's just kind of my voice. You know, it's like I can't turn it off. It's just kind of who I am. So, hey, it's good to be with you guys, though, from here in Vegas. That's what we're trying to be caffeinated early in the morning here in Vegas. What's going on, guys?
Well, we are going to get to Joe Tess's private conversation with John Wiener during the break here because it was great. He called him Mike. And also, Chris, what was your favorite?
I did call him Mike.
He also said he loved his lacrosse coverage.
I'll be Mike. Call me whatever you want. All
Which
right?
is true.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's very true. I do love your lacrosse analysis. I love your passion for lacrosse. That's sort of my spring guilty pleasure as a sports fan, to randomly channel surf and watch college lacrosse. I love what you do there.
I love that we learned that his guilty pleasure is on a Saturday afternoon just taking in some lax.
Yeah, he called it lax. He called it.
The other pleasures I can't discuss, man.
Okay.
The other pleasures I don't discuss while on a satellite.
All right, very good.
Oh, Mr. Tessitore.
So before we get to this this really fun heavyweight fight, can we just get Joe Tess as an accomplished play-by-play man with a wonderful voice who loves John Wiener's work on lacrosse games? Can we play for Joe Tess, Stugotz, doing color commentary?
This is the Final Four, by the way.
On the Final Four here. He had just said that they needed to use their best player as a decoy, and listen to what happened.
So I've noticed the last couple of BC possessions where it seems like they've tried to force Sam. Sam tried to force something. I'd rather see someone other than Sam get the shot here. And, Brick, what I mean by that is they've been better offensively today when Sam's not forcing the action, been more of a decoy than the one generating the offense. Apuzzo going. She's going.
Shot off the wall, Boston College! On the shoulders of the Toronto winner, Sam Apuzzo will be heading to the national championship game for a 3rd straight year.
Nailed it, eh?
Now, first of all, here's what you're never going to believe. We did not discuss this prior to this appearance. I mean, you guys just had that on the ready there, which is unbelievable. I was watching that game going nuts, absolutely nuts. I am a huge Sam Apuzzo fan. Absolutely think the world of that team last year, that BC team that obviously, I mean, that game was an all-time thriller, but coming up short in the national championship again. And now this year we're a little younger. We're trying to get things going. We've had some good wins. Jen Majid's had some good hat tricks recently. But we got to get things going with a youth movement. And by the time the spring comes around, hopefully the BC Lax team is primed for another run for a national title. And I expect John to be bringing that home this time, not falling short in the national title game.
Well, I appreciate that, John. Listen, it was a big moment for me. I got it wrong. But you like me so much that I'm thinking me and you ever need me, Booker's a little sick, I'm happy to join you in the Monday Night Football booth, okay?
Yeah,
and you join me in the
spike. That is TV gold right there.
And you join me in the Lax booth, me and you. A couple of mentions cutting it up on a Saturday afternoon. Home and home.
Love it.
Yes.
Wilder
Sounds
Fury
great to me.
2. You can order on pay-per-view and ESPN Plus. It's a joint production between Fox and ESPN. The important question, of course, Joe Tess loves a good steak, right?
Oh, yeah. Love a good steak. Absolutely. Bone-in filet all the way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Bone-in filet kind of guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Of course.
We knew it, right? We knew
I mean,
it.
come
We
on,
just
Joe
knew.
Tess.
We just knew from the sound of your voice that you were a man who knows his way around the steakhouse.
Yes, many years in Vegas calling fights. That is our specialty on a Friday night.
This one is exciting, though. What is the last? We were asking this yesterday, and unfortunately, I'm surrounded by boobs, so I got only McGregor and Mayweather as an offer. But when's the last time that you were excited about a boxing match the way you're excited about this one?
Well, listen, this is my sport and this is my passion, and it has been for many, many years. So I get excited even for a 4-round fight with two, tomato cans that are hitting each other in the head. So I'm not the good person to ask. But in terms of relevance and awareness and sort of that national buzz, to me, in the heavyweight division, you got to go back to Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson. Lennox Lewis, by the way, is going to be one of my broadcast partners ringside with Andre Ward Saturday night. However, that was the deep autumn of Mike Tyson's career. We pretty much knew what was going to happen in that fight. Lennox was eventually going to get rid of him and dismiss us from understanding Mike Tyson as to what he was. And Tyson's only hope was to go for broke early and try to land something. That is not this. These are two undefeated power punchers in the absolute prime of their careers. This is the best versus the best. This is as good as it can get. So to me, you have to go back to Bo Holyfield. You have to go back to the rematch of Lennox Lewis and Holyfield. By the way, coming off of a controversial draw back then. This is only the third time in the history of the sport that we've had a heavyweight championship fight with a rematch coming off of a draw going all the way back to the 1800s. This is different. This is the best versus the best. So yes, we've had fights with mega buzz that have been mega events. The Mayweather stuff I dismiss. Pacquiao-Mayweather was, far too long on the shelf, way past its prime. And then Mayweather-McGregor, that wasn't boxing. That was a cash grab exhibition.
Easy,
Mayweather
Tess.
completely carried McGregor.
Whoa.
I'm with you, Joe Tess, but
That was not boxing.
Yes, these
That was
boobs.
not boxing.
That's correct.
Mayweather was
That
on
is
the ropes.
correct. That is correct.
Floyd was on the ropes.
He conned the world. Floyd Mayweather sat there and carried Conor McGregor. And if you know anything about combat sports, you know exactly what you saw. He shoulder rolled and didn't counterpunch. He covered up and allowed for him to come forward. Floyd Mayweather, who's one of the best Viper right-hand shoulder roll counterpunchers in the history of the sport, chose not to do that. It was like watching the Pro Bowl when they choose to go thud rather than to tackle to the ground or a pass rush that goes at half speed. That was an exhibition cash grab. That was not boxing at the highest level. Was it a spectacle? Yes. This is the highest level of the sport, and that's why it matters more. And that's the beauty of this promotion. It didn't need to be really sold. It didn't need to be hyped because it matters. The Kingpin winner comes out of this as the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world, the way we used to carry that moniker around. The Klitschkos were wonderful. They were greatly skilled, but they put a wet blanket over the hot fire of the heavyweight division for a generation and a half because of an upright European mechanical style and having their fights in Germany. This is different. This brings us back to Ali. This brings us back to Tyson. This brings us back to the glory years of the heavyweight division.
These guys don't agree with you. They're mad about what you're saying there.
I had Conor winning the first 3 rounds, I think, Joe.
Well, it's like saying I had the AFC winning the first quarter of the Pro Bowl. It's still an exhibition, dude. Somebody's still winning. It's still an exhibition. It's not real.
Take my money, Joe.
Listen, I am
Absurd
not.
statement.
I'm not arguing with Joe Tess. We just agreed to a home and home.
Miami so we can further this. Listen, here's the deal. You want to make you guys bring me down to Miami. We'll further this conversation at Prime Italian over like a 5-hour dinner. We'll get all this stuff.
You guys have enraged Joe Tess. You've enraged him. It's the angriest I've ever seen
the
him.
problem is the Dolphins will never be on Monday Night
Oh, no, dude, hang with me more. You'll see me crazy angry. Crazy angry.
All right. And you thought Fury was named Tyson. No, the name is Joe Tess. The fight is this weekend. You can order pay-per-view and ESPN Plus joint production between Fox and ESPN.
May I make one request of my icon, the icon of this industry, Joe Tessitore?
What's good? Yes. One request. What do you got?
Sir, just an isolated, best Monday Night Football broadcastery voice. Can you say Baker Mayfield?
You know, it's funny because 3 weeks ago I was out here in Vegas and Baker was hanging ringside at the McGregor fight. And then I ended up bumping into him very late at night at a certain establishment, and we were all having a lot of fun.
Guilty
So I
pleasure.
do enjoy, when in Vegas, simply saying, Baker Mayfield.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. Hey,
my ears.
Chills.
Are you guys having a fight party on Saturday night?
Dan's
Are you having
house,
a fight
yeah,
party
Dan's
on
I
buying.
Saturday?
am.
Yep,
Yes,
yep,
I
yep, yep.
am. Yes.
Marty.
Yeah.
Is it at Dan's house?
Yep.
I'm having one, but these guys
That's
aren't
gonna be
invited.
fun. That's going to be fun. Don't start too early. That's my piece of. Don't start too early.
9 p.m.
Don't
9
start-
p.m. start.
Fights. Don't start. Buy it at 9 p.m. Buy it now. Buy it now. Tune in around 10 o'clock. You'll love it.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure to be with you.
Oh
Really,
my
truly.
God. I love you.
Man, I love him so much. Open door policy here.
Mike, talk to him off air about whether or not he could sneak one of our lines into the broadcast.
Oh, I am not doing that.
I thought that's what you were going to do. When you said- Mike, you went Baker Mayfield.
This is a
into-
professional. He does not work for us. He's not doing our bidding.
Listen, he's buying us Prime Italian, and I got a home and home.
Ask him.
I don't think he said
He
he was
didn't say he
buying.
was buying.
Yes, he is.
Ask him.
Garlic
Yeah,
bread.
that's the way you heard
I
it.
did
Ask him
not
off
say
air. Black Tux people, we've been telling you for a while that the Black Tux takes care of us. We ask that you take care of the Black Tux. If you're in a dire sort of clothing-related need situation, tell them, Stugotz.
The Black Tux believes every groom deserves a better experience when it comes to finding formal wear, a suit or tuxedo for their big day. Did you know that the Black Tux was actually started by two guys who had one of the worst tuxedo fittings you could imagine? It turns out they aren't alone in their frustration. Just listen to these one-star reviews from competitor tux shops that shall not be named. Go elsewhere. The place is pretty terrible, unless you are dressing like your grandpa for Halloween. We felt weird buying a suit from somebody so unhappy. We were afraid his bad vibes might follow us to our wedding day. So we left.
All right, now that he's gone, though, we can all agree my Baker Mayfield's better, right?
It was actually.
I think he had a flow going. There was a big build-up,
Yeah,
and
it was
maybe
just
Dan got in the
little
way a
detached.
little
I was
bit
like,
there.
I wanted Baker Mayfield. He gave me more Baker Mayfield.
You did. Whether you're buying your outfit or looking to rent, you won't find a formal wear experience or designs like the ones you'll find at the Black Tux. If you want your wedding to be remembered for the right reasons, order your suit or tuxedo at theblacktux.com and enjoy 10% off with code Dan. That's theblacktux.com, code Dan, for 10% off your purchase. The Black Tux, formal wear for the moment.
We constantly stumble into excellence.
Also, here's Stephen A. Smith trying to say 5/8 of an inch.
I like Baker Mayfield. I want him to produce, but being undersized, 6 feet 5 and 8, 5 and 8, 5/8 inches, 5/8 of an inch. I don't know.
How did none of you yesterday call me Flan Solo when I was Darth Maul food court, bloated Star Wars participant in costume? Flan Solo. I came home and Valerie called me R-type 2 diabetes.
We can't think of everything, Dan.
We're human.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry we didn't have all the funniest lines.
Flan Solo.
My bad.
Is excellent.
Sorry that people with the benefit of hindsight and hearing our submissions came up with funnier ones.
Yeah, we tried, man.
What do you have for us, Stugotz, in terms of a stat of the day? What's your level of excited on the stat of the day?
An 8.
All right, we are up against the clock here, and so you need to do the short one because we only have a little bit of time here.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is the start of the day.
Courtesy of our friend Tom Habistro. at Tom Habistro on Twitter. The Pelicans recover 46% of Zion's misses, with a big chunk of them coming from Zion himself. Z-bounds. Zion Williamson recovers 10% of his misses for putbacks, already the best rate in the league. In an opinion, the dude's second jump is ridiculously quick.
Those numbers you just expressed is the greatest numerical articulation I've heard of the size of his body caving in everything in the paint. 46%? I mean, how ridiculous is that?
It's incredible. And, obviously it's small sample size, but everything that he's done at the collegiate level and in preseason and so far would lead us to believe that this is real, that he is that good of a rebounder.
But, when you're talking about your team recovers half the misses, you're altering the way the mathematics of the sport work. If you're gonna, if half the time you're out there and he misses, he's already hugely efficient, you get another chance.
Yeah, basically, if you offensive rebound about 30% of your own misses, that's incredible. You're one of the best offensive rebounding teams ever. So 46 is pretty ridiculous.
All right. I can't believe I can't. That's why it's the stat of the day. It's higher than an 8, I believe. So Zach Lowe is going to join us to talk more basketball next.
We have ridden Stugotz incompetence to world domination.
Vivid Seats, the top ticket source for the live events you crave, now is a loyalty program that allows fans to earn credit back. Just go to the App Store or Google Play, download the Vivid Seats app, and enter promo code ESPN25 for 10% off your next order. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
So let's start there with Zach Lowe, and thank you for joining us. The Lowe Post podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. He covers basketball differently than most, better than most, in that it's super thorough, and basketball heads really need the information and the perspective that he provides. So Zach Lowe with us now on ESPN Radio. Tell me how rare that is, Zach, or where the precedents are for the idea of a guy lasting 9 months. I know Lou Holtz in football lasted a very short period of time in the NFL, but lasting 9 months as a coach and giving up $12 million to get away from a team?
I can't think of another NBA situation quite like this, given how big his name is as sort of a borderline legendary college coach and the money he's walking away from and how sort of candid toll this had taken on him and just what a disaster it was. And by the way, you could tell by August, September where this was going. Like if you knew people within the team, if you talked to people within the team, like you were already hearing stories like, whoa, that doesn't sound good.
Many of them, anything worse than them playing during practice all sorts of songs with thugs in the title because he had confused thugs and slugs as sort of a final bad public relations act?
That was, I don't think any funnier than that. That's definitely the funniest part. I mean, that is a crazy in your face kind of taunting, but I guess worse is relative. The stories that were going around then were just about, oh, this is clearly going to be a cultural gap between how this guy is used to coaching and managing a team and what flies in the NBA and what the reality of the NBA is. And the gulf between those things is so big that it just feels insurmountable.
How does he not realize that?
That's the thing that always stuns me whenever a college coach comes in and this happens, it's like, well, this is like the 19th cautionary tale and they all read the same way. And then you have these other examples of college coaches coming in and doing just fine, like Brad Stevens and Billy Donovan has done a nice job in Oklahoma City. It's like it's not like there's no model you can look to for how to do it and how not to do it.
People were very complimentary of your Bam Adebayo piece where you sort of introduced his history to a whole lot of people. He's not much of a talker, so you got a lot of information out of his past. Why do you think that piece resonated the way it did?
Well, thank you. First of all, I worked very hard on it. And I actually was surprised by what a good talker he was. When I got in a room with him, I interviewed him and two of his childhood friends for like 90 minutes when I was in Miami, and they were great. And part of the reason they were great is because I had already talked to a bunch of people and had good stories to throw at him. But I think Bam is a genuinely monster human being. He really does only care about basketball and his mom and his friends. He's a pretty simple guy in terms of his tastes, and he's a monster hard worker. A colorful character once you hear stories about him. And I think he was in the sweet spot of rising star on a team that I think flew a little bit under the radar before the season, and a guy that people were like, this guy, I keep seeing him on Twitter. I keep seeing his name. He made the All-Star team. Like there was sort of an appetite, I think, to get to know him a little bit.
If Joel Embiid does become available and Philadelphia would want, I would imagine, Bam Adebayo, what do you do there if you're the Miami Heat and the Philadelphia 76ers?
I think you do a hell of a lot of research. Well, look, this requires a lot of things happening between point A and point B, including the Sixers would have to flame out in the playoffs, and I'm not convinced that's going to happen. But if you get to that point, I think if you're the Sixers, you have to take a long, hard look in the mirror and say, okay, if we've concluded that these two stars just don't work or aren't going to work well enough, who's the one that we trust to build our team around? Who's the bigger risk to keep versus a trade? And if you're in Miami, you got to see how Bam does in the playoffs this year, because you're right, Philly's asking for everything. There is no deal without almost everything with Joel Embiid. And then you have to take a look at Embiid. You know, you Dan, and all you guys down there know the Heat culture, what it means. The conditioning tests, the body fat tests, the attention to detail off the court, the strict sort of culture in all that regard. And like Joel Embiid, frankly, hasn't fit that and is pretty far from that in terms of what you hear and what you read about his habits, and his conditioning has been an issue his entire career. And you got to, if you're the Heat, like, are you really ready for this? Do you really know what you're getting into? Because the Heat don't really, it's not like the stars can slack off there. You know what I mean?
If you were responsible for building that team, who would you trust more, Simmons or Embiid?
I think Embiid is the better player. I've always been a little higher on their future together than most people. Like, I think it's too early to just sort of put a pin in it. And
you believe based on a history of basketball, Zach, that they're going to show you something in the playoffs, because if you have two great guys, that tends to carry in the playoffs. Is that what you believe?
I believe first of all, I thought they impressed me in the playoffs last year. Now the best or second best player on that team now plays for the Heat, so maybe it's apples to oranges. But what I've always believed about this Sixers roster is all the problems, all the chemistry, all the fit issues, whatever you want to say, there is a historically great defense waiting to emerge from that team. And maybe they don't find it. Maybe they just never do. Maybe all those things sabotage it. But if they find that defense, that's going to paper over a lot of that other stuff, and that travels, that sings in the playoffs. So I'm waiting to see that, and that's why I sort of can't give up faith in that team and the two of them together.
Are the Lakers actually better than the Clippers, or are the Lakers just playing their stars more?
I picked the Clippers to win the championship before the season. I think they have the best roster top to bottom in the league, the best playoff roster certainly in terms of how the game changes in the playoffs. So I don't know if they are playing their stars more for sure. I think both teams are really good, but I've thought all along that the Clippers are better now when they play everybody and better designed for the postseason.
Zach, what are we doing here with the Bucks? Because they're 46-8, they're plus 12. Normally we crown that team, like we'll crown them right now. Yet it seems like most people, like yourself, feel like the Clippers or the Lakers are better than the Bucks. So what are we doing with Milwaukee?
Well, and the scary thing about Milwaukee is it's not like they're overextending themselves to go 46-8. They're like Giannis is barely playing 30 minutes a game.
Right.
It's like they're doing their own version of load management. It's like blowout load management. I think first of all their defense has slipped a little bit against the best teams, and I think there is something in their profile. And John Hollinger, my old colleague and friend, did a piece on this. These teams in the last, like post-Jordan, in the last 20 years, teams that blitz the regular season to this degree don't fare as well in the playoffs as you would think based on their regular season resume. And so I don't think it's crazy to suggest that even if you think Milwaukee's going to win it, that their road there is going to be harder than their regular season dominance suggests it would be. And the East is filled with like really good teams, including Philly, whose fifth scuffling is designed to match up with the Bucks. Now, maybe they never get that matchup, but like the East isn't going to be easy.
Zach, thank you for being on with us. Check out the Low Post podcast wherever you get your podcast. Thank you, sir.
Always a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Pay that man his money.
The most veteran facility managers know the tricks of the trade when it comes. What are you laughing about?
I'm just laughing at the Nuggets. They never come up. I mean, no one ever discusses them. What are we going to do if they win?
You said sports radio is just going to shut down if the Nuggets win. When it comes to maintaining a facility, trust those most veteran of facility managers. Tell them, Stugotz.
Yep, running your business is a 24/7, 365-day-a-year job. Every problem, every solution is up to you. When a problem arises and you need a solution, Granger's got your back. Whether you need critical items fast, something isn't working like it should, or you just can't find exactly what you're looking for, Granger's ready to help. Because you don't stop, neither do they. Granger has 24/7 customer support, sourcing specialists, and same-day pickup and delivery options. Don't forget about their on-demand products and technical expertise. Whatever you need, whenever you need it, Granger's got your back. Call, click Granger.com, or stop by a branch. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
We have run out of space for all of our awards.
I wrote a song. I said, oh, the voice of an angel. She can sing this song for us. And I think it accomplished everything you wanted it to.
All right, let's see. We'll all find out together.
Time to talk basketball. Amigos basketball. He'll teach you basketball. Expert in basketball.
2 minutes, get out of here.
If you missed any of the show, you can listen to all 3 hours of the Dan Le Batard Show, plus our Miami-only hour and our Best of podcast on demand in the ESPN app, and subscribe to the Le Batard and Friends podcast network featuring South Beach Sessions, Stupidity, and Mystery Crate. Please rate and subscribe. New episodes are posted every week wherever you get your podcasts.
Frank Stallone is going to join us in about 15 minutes. I don't know. Billy, what do you think? Who has Mike Ryan been more excited about today? Frank Stallone or Joe Tessitore?
I can tell you after we get Frank Stallone on the line, but I've never seen
You were embarrassed.
anyone...
You were embarrassed.
I was laughing. I thought it was funny. I was like, let's just, scale it back a little bit. We're coming off a little desperate here with Joe Tess. Joe Tess had also like a low-key great line to Mike where he's like, Mr. Tessitore, Mr. Tessitore. He goes, oh, no need to call me Mr. Tessitore. And I'm expecting him to say, call me Joe. He goes, call me Tess.
I love that he called lacrosse lax.
Yes.
He's in a big hurry. He doesn't have time. He doesn't have time for the extra syllable.
I was like, can I call you Joe Tess? And he's like, sure.
Well, this is, I think that what we can agree on, and Mike, generally your judgment is pretty good around here, but you became so self-involved that at the end of the interview, you didn't merely just run through all the stoplights on where our clock is, but you also wanted him to you asked him, would you merely say Baker Mayfield, and then yelled at me because I was asking him to, during the fight, say something for our audience. You wanted him to do something for you personally.
Yeah, well, you were being selfish in that moment. Obviously, the connection point for many in our audience is the limited fake Joe Tessitore Baker Mayfield, and he needed to do it for the audience. I was worried about the audience there.
Right, you were doing it for them. Mike got what he wanted. He got a Baker Mayfield. I got what I wanted, which is a home and home with Joe Tess.
Right, and that's all that matters, right? Not the audience. Just can you guys just parlay this into things that you want? I'm not sure if Mike Ryan's Joe Tess is better than Billy's Joe Tess. Billy's Joe Tess is pretty good.
It is pretty good there, Bill.
Thanks, Michael.
What about mine? And what about mine?
Yours
okay,
is
well,
terrible.
wait a minute. You know what?
No, it is not.
Yeah,
No, it is not.
We can all agree
right, well,
it's pretty bad.
You know
no,
what?
mine's better than yours.
Hold on. I would like, if we could, to have the 4 fake Joe Tesses talking. And I'm going to do this Royal Rumble style. I'm probably going to kick Roy out very quickly because his Joe
How
Tess
dare you?
A Tess off. I think I have one too. Baker Mayfield.
Are you saying mine was bad?
You do not have one, Stugotz. You have to sit this out.
The watch.
All right, let's.
That's your Christopher Walken.
You are looking live. Sounded great to me, Michael Wiener.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Billy's is pretty good. I think Billy's might be better than yours. Roy wants to get in here. I don't know why.
First and 10 from the 20.
It's just Roy talking.
It's just Roy talking. I sound like this all the time.
They serve a nice steak at MetLife Stadium. Wit.
I don't think I can compete with
Yeah,
Billy.
Chris, you've been knocked out to it. It seems to be only now Billy versus Mike for who has the greatest of Joe
I'm
Tess.
out?
You are out. Stugotz is out.
You were never in.
Stugotz is out. Roy is out. Chris is out. It is now a test-off only between Mike Ryan and Billy Gill. Have at it, gentlemen.
Prime Italian.
He's good.
The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Home of Manny Pacquiao versus some Australian tomato can.
I don't know. I feel like if we were to go back and forth and ask the audience to applaud, you would get the same amount of noise if we were asking them, if we were asking the audience whose is better.
Let's check in with Lisa Salters on the sideline.
All right, so this is round 2. Round 1, man, that is tough. I think it was a draw, but this is round 2 here.
Okay,
All right,
so
Billy,
this,
go
you want to try that again, Mike? You want to try that again?
We check in now with Lisa Salters on the sideline.
That match was merely an exhibition.
See, you have
10-9
an
Guillermo.
advantage of repeating his most recent interview.
All right, you know what? Let's do this, okay? Let's do this. Right now, we've got the first round was a draw. The second round goes to Billy.
And just to be clear, I'm out.
Yeah, you are out. Roy is out. We've got Chris is out. Frank Stallone is going to join us in about 10 minutes.
We should go to the judges' scorecard.
All right, you should go to the penalty box.
Oh, I was told to say that.
I told you to say that. I told you to. I was told to say that.
Oh, mine was
you know what? Major for revealing letting people.
5-minute major.
Mine was better than Chris.
Out.
No, it wasn't.
Everyone is peeking. Back to the shadows.
Mine was better than Roy's.
You go sit with him.
I'm a big fan of Sam Apusa.
No! I was going to use Sam Apuso.
Oh, wow.
I was going to use Apuso.
Billy wins another round of the test off here.
Could have been a knockout.
This was I think Mike
was going Sam Apuso. No! No!
You had him lined up for the fourth round.
That was just a tactical blow.
I'm running out of things to say.
From the most recent interview we had.
I think you won, Billy. Frank Stallone is next.
Give me a second. You kicked out or poured out.
We have freedom, Stugotz incompetence to world domination.
Stugotz, you don't do any impersonations, do you?
Well, Stugotz, you do that Christopher Walken so well.
That Christopher Walken you did so well when you were put on the spot and asked to improv.
A fortnight.
Just terrible. His Christopher Walken is...
I wish I had a tail.
That was the best one you've done. It was still terrible. It was still no, it was terrible.
It was so terrible, I didn't know what he was doing.
Questions for him. Hello.
Hey.
Good morning. Good morning. I'd say my favorite hype song is either Led Zeppelin Black Dog or Led Zeppelin Rock and Roll or anything by The Who. You know.
You're an accomplished musician. I'm wondering what it was like when you made a lot of songs for your brother's movies, but Staying Alive was at number one for how long? When you hit at number one, how long were you at number one?
I was there for a while, but the competition was tough. I had Thriller, Synchronicity, Lionel Richie, so it was a pretty tough. So I stayed there. I got there. That was put it that way, and that was after like 19 years of playing every bad club on the East Coast. You know, so it wasn't an overnight situation because I turned professional in '65.
Oh, Mr. Frank Stallone, you're still number one in many people's hearts.
Thank you, my man. Thank you.
You are a chummy.
Well, you know, they just did a documentary on me called Stallone, Frank, that is.
Right.
And we've been winning all these awards for best feature film documentary. And it's amazing how many people are in it. I mean, Guns N' Roses, Hall & Oates, Bon Jovi, my brother, Arnold, the late Danny Aiello, even Geraldo Rivera, who I fought on Howard Stern's show. So it's a feature-length film, and we're going to con with it. And I'm really excited to think that someone thought enough of me to do a documentary about me. So it was kind of cool.
I'm glad you brought that up, Frank, because we were talking about this a couple weeks ago and how much of a snub it was come Oscar season.
Oh, God. I mean, I remember my brother lost. Well, I was there both times. When he lost for Rocky, that was totally ridiculous.
A travesty.
Yep.
And then when he lost for Creed, and this was so weird. We were so into it. Even people that didn't like him were saying, oh, he's going to get it this year. I said, well, it's like 42 years of work. It's created 3 American icons. And even the people he was up against for Best Supporting Actor, you could see a little bit they were rooting for him because, they all grew up watching Rocky, Rambo, you know what I'm saying? So it's like the young guys are sitting there going, you know what? Guy's 70-some years old. He brought us so many great films. And when he lost to Mark Rylance, I was there. I almost had a heart attack. It was on film. I was sitting next to my 94-year-old mother, and I said, well, fine, we're going to get it. And I went like this, and I got in a lot of trouble because I went online, and I just said, this is BS. Come on. This other guy was in the movie for 8 minutes. No one even knew who he was.
Yeah,
and not saying that Mark Rylance is a bad actor. He is a Shakespearean actor, but we're not talking Shakespeare.
He's not Stallone.
He's no Stallone. And listen, he should have won it. He should have won it for First Blood too, Frank. Let's be honest.
And for his portrayal as John Spartan, the Demolition Man.
I love First Blood.
Yeah, and probably Tango and Cash. I mean,
hey, Rhinestone.
Exactly. I mean, let's be frank.
Thank you,
Oscar,
Stugotz. I appreciate all your help there. Frank Stallone with us on ESPN Radio. Among your collections, Frank, because you got a lot. You've got art, you got music, you got mafia, you've got guitars. What is your favorite collection?
Well, my favorite collection is I've been one of the top boxing historians in the world for like 46 years. So I have stuff going back to John L. Sullivan. I love the stuff, the turn of the century stuff, the guys that fought 43-minute rounds, stuff like that, wearing 5-ounce, by the way, and I have film on that, wearing 5-ounce horsehair gloves, schedule 45-round fights that sometimes ended in the 40th or 44th round, and you weren't allowed to wear a mouth guard until 1917 when Ted Kid Lewis fought Jack Britton. That was a big, big deal then. So they didn't wear mouth guards then. So you can imagine getting hit in the face with a hand that's wrapped in black electric tape right in your mouth. So they're pretty tough guys.
What is Frank Stallone's most prized possession?
A few. I say the Rocky belt from Rocky 1.
Wow. Oh, you have
How'd
that.
you score
I need
that?
to see that. I need to do something.
Well, there were 2 of them. So my brother gave me one. Of course, years later, he wanted it back, and I said, nah, sorry.
Classic Frank.
I love my brother, but he is definitely the Indian giver. He'll give me something great. Yeah, I'm happy you like this thing. And all of a sudden, someone will talk about what he gave me. Hey, remember that thing I gave you? I'd like to have it back. I go, yeah, well, I'd like to have, my youth back, too.
Frank Stallone with us on ESPN Radio. What is the most memorable fight Frank and Sly Stallone have ever had? The one that still gets talked about.
Where we were sitting, because of him, I used to go to the ringside fights in Vegas when people wore suits and dressed up and went out. I'd say one of the most exciting fights was ringside at Hagler Hearns. That was one. And the Cooney Holmes fight, which was very, that was a big deal. They made all the great White Hope stuff, but Jerry wasn't into that. That was just the crest. I mean, Jerry was in with, to me, Larry Holmes may be one of the top 3 greatest heavyweights of all time. That was very exciting. Hagler Hearns was really fire, man, for 3 rounds.
I understand why you answered it that way, but I meant between the two of you. You and Sly Stallone fighting over 70 years. Have you ever, brothers fight? And I'm thinking of the most memorable one.
I can tell you one. Right now. This was classic. It was at the gym we were using on the lot for Rocky 3. And I had fought in the amateurs, so I used to go there because I thought, I said, how great is this? this is the gym for Rocky III on the lot of the studio. And it was all decorated like with those giant, remember those giant posters that were like 30 feet tall from Rocky 1 with him and Apollo?
Well, I gotta forget.
Yeah, so we used to spar, you know, and I didn't spar my brother too much because I didn't like messing with southpaws, right? So I'd spar Carlos Palomino, who was a great welterweight champion, and people would just come in and we'd spar and like punch him out and stuff like that, you know, like reporters. Hey, can I get in the ring with Rocky? I said, I wouldn't do that. He's a little bit of a cheap shot artist. He can probably hit you, which he did a few times. So it had like a face mask. It was like almost like a quarterback. But it was headgear, right? So we're sparring, just having fun, moving around, blah 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 blah. We're laughing a little bit, and all of a sudden he unloads on me with a straight right and a straight left to my nose. I hear my nose kind of go crunch. I go, oh, okay, that's just boxing. You know, he just got one in, and he did it again. And then as he did, I kept on hit him with a left hook and staggered him. And then he came back. Now all hell breaks loose. Here's all the movie producers and everyone sitting there watching us, and we're trying to kill each other. Now they're pulling us apart. We're kicking each other, spitting the mouth parts out. But it started out as I have it on. I'll never show it, but we have it on film. But it was like, so I was banned from the lot. I wasn't allowed to come into the lot anymore.
Right, there's a great.
Go ahead. He hit me first because he's known, and he'll admit that he's a cheap shot artist. So he sat there, and I thought we were just moving around, and he hit my nose, and man, then I figured, okay. Then he went after me again, so I bounced off and hit him with a left hook, and then he hit me with a right hook, and then we went crazy. It was people were diving over the ropes. Hey boys, what's going on in there? You know, I said brother stuff, man. What can I tell you?
Rocco. Frank, we spent an entire show on this fabulous picture that was taken. It's all over Instagram. It's you guys watching fights. It's Sugar Ray Leonard. It's you. It's Al Pacino.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it begs the question. How the hell did Jay Glazer work his way into your family?
I don't know, because Fly used to work out at his gym, which is it's okay gym, Unbreakable. Jay's a nice guy. You know, he's kind of part of the crew because, you know, he knows all the athletes. So when Michael Strahan came in, who happened to be a lovely guy, it's kind of cool. Like all of a sudden you never know who's going to drop in. So what's better to watch a great football game or watching boxing with Sugar Ray Leonard or watching a good movie with Al Pacino or watching football with Michael Strahan. So it's really kind of an event, and it's really fun. You know, we have a lot of fun with that stuff. And they're all pretty nice. Because, you know, when you get guys away from their natural environment, you really see who they are. And, you know, Strahan couldn't have been a nicer guy. And Al's like the best, you know. So, and Ray Leonard we've known for years. And so it's kind of cool seeing people there that are the top of their game at what they do, you know.
Frank, we have less than 30 seconds left, but as a boxing historian, what can you tell me? Do you agree with Teddy Atlas that Wilder has the heaviest hand, the heaviest punch he's ever seen?
I don't think it's the heaviest punch I've ever seen. I'd give that to either Shavers or Foreman, but he can take you out with one shot. So the other guy's tall. He's a good jabber, so he's got to stay to the right and not walk into that right hand because he just showed Fury that he can take a punch and get up, and he got cut up his last fight, and he shows a lot of heart. He's a tough Irish guy, tough Irish gypsy, but you can't come in straight on Wilder. So Wilder doesn't have as many tools in his box as Fury's a better boxer, but he can really crack with that right hand. And so he's he's like a giant Tommy Hearns. You know what I mean?
Yes, Frank. Thanks for being on with us. We appreciate the time, sir. We'll talk to you on Monday.
Great.
We'll talk to you on Monday.
Talk Monday? You want to talk Monday?
We'll talk to you Monday.
All right, good.
Hi, Frank.
Pay that man his money.
Would have been better at the beginning. ZipRecruiter, people. Support ZipRecruiter because ZipRecruiter
I was too busy
supports
talking
us.
his ear off, saying he was the soundtrack to my life.
Really rubbing off on you, Mike. That's not good.
What a day.
You've had a heck of a day, man. Hiring is challenging, but there's one place you can go where hiring is simple, fast, and smart. And growing businesses connect to qualified candidates. Gretchen Hebner experienced how challenging hiring can be after unsuccessfully searching for a new game artist to grow with her education tech company. But then she switched to ZipRecruiter and saw an immediate difference. And you can too by signing up for ZipRecruiter at ZipRecruiter.com/Dan. It's free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. And by using ZipRecruiter screening questions to filter candidates, Gretchen found it easier to focus on the best ones than find the right one. In fact, after posting her job on ZipRecruiter, Gretchen said she was honestly surprised she found qualified applicants so quickly and hired a new game artist in less than 2 weeks. That quickly. With results like that, it's no wonder 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free. See why ZipRecruiter is so effective for businesses of all sizes? Go to ZipRecruiter.com/Dan. Again, it's free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/DAN.
This is the biggest show in the world.
I'll tell you what Demolition Man is. Demolition Man is Jamal McGlure. That's what
Yes.
Now
you have crossed the line. What?
One-time All-Star.
Get outta here.
One-time All-Star Jamal McGlure.
Get out.
That's disrespectful.
Unbelievable.
As the NBA season enters its home stretch, the great Doris Burke breaks down the league's most intriguing storylines. That's ESPN Daily with Mina Kimes, presented by ADT. Download, subscribe, and review ESPN Daily, available wherever you enjoy your podcast.
We got some sound here that Stugotz is going to like, but before we do that, happy 32nd birthday to Rihanna.
And happy birthday to her. I don't care. Good luck.
Also, happy 57th birthday to Charles Barkley.
And happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
Sir Charles and Riri.
You're very excited about this documentary on Inside the NBA, aren't you?
Oh, my God. Have you seen the trailer for it? It looks so good. I was thinking, like, can they really make this interesting about a pregame show? But the trailer suggests they can make it interesting about a pregame show. And it also got me thinking, like, what other shows are worthy, pregame shows are worthy of this type of coverage, of a documentary?
None are.
I think College Game Day eventually will get one. They'll get like a 30 for 30. They'll get something on it, a documentary. I think the original Brent Musburger, Jimmy the Greek, Leslie Visser, I believe, CBS, that pregame show was so far ahead of its time that they are deserving of one. And, of course, the fake pregame show. How about that?
The fake pregame show, an inside joke from 10
No one
years
knows
ago.
what he's talking about.
Just a joke from 10 years ago that is totally self-involved.
But it does. It looks fantastic. What I love most about the show and that trailer is Shaquille O'Neal, because it's a big part of the trailer. The moment where, I think it's during the playoffs, where he turns around, he's running back to the projector, and he just falls. Like, he just takes a spill. And rather than go back to the NBA playoffs, which is what most pre- or post games would do, they sunk into that.
Yeah, they're great.
And they spent 2 hours on that.
They're great at having fun. I wish more shows did it. This guy does it. The sound we're about to play for you is the sports director in Evansville, Indiana, Randy Parmley. He is dropping and sprinkling all sorts of show references into his nightly highlights, Stugotz, and he's doing so in a way that embarrasses Izzy Gutierrez and Jorge Sedano and Ariel Helwani and anyone who has put our show in their broadcast. Listen to this.
This comes courtesy of WEHT in Evansville, Indiana.
Big Blue fans are sitting at home right now thinking, UK making a run at the end of the season? That's an important conversation, and I'm glad we're having it. This time it's Murray Becker, the steal, and the layup. Murray! Evansville's favorite son, Don Mattingly, begins his 5th season with the Marlins. Now, it's been a struggle in Miami for Donnie baseball, so much so many times we've been forced to say that concludes our Marlins coverage for the season before June. Indiana on the road at Minnesota, first half. Here's Trace Jackson Davis. He says, welcome to the Music Dome. Later in the half, Malik Williams, rim, collision course.
That's a lot, man. He's putting a lot of show references into his broadcast. Mike, when you were fawning over Joe Tessitore in a way that was embarrassing to all of us, did you ask him to put anything in the broadcast, or you just got carried away?
It was the greatest of all time. What he does to do something for rounds. During the biggest fight ever. Are you mad? You're mad.
I'm mad at you. I'm mad at you for not asking for it because you just wanted him to say Baker Mayfield for you.
Going to Prime Italian and he's thinking all of us.
I have some broadcasts coming up for lacrosse. I'd be happy to weave some stuff in. I will botch it, but I'll try to weave it in.
Billy, why are you skeptical, Billy, all of a sudden?
It's an important conversation. I'm glad we're having it.
Oh, man, you knocked me out, man.
Billy.
Monte Wilder, Tyson Fury, collision course.
I didn't ask for any of this.
Super Bowl week, Dan.
You just heard the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
All right, bye.